Remember, capital growth is not just a function of land size. Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and a common question I get is, Nero, we understand that we should stay away from the unit market. We know how poorly off-the-plan units have performed in many parts of Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. We understand there's lots of issues with vacancy and getting our properties rented quickly and getting the rents to even cover the mortgage. So we understand the dangers of investing in a unit. So we want to look at houses. However, when it comes to buying a property, a house as an investment property, shouldn't we focus on buying a block of land that's as big as possible? So buying the biggest block of land that we can get our hands on in that particular area, because isn't it land that goes up in value, not so much the house? And the answer to that question is yes, but only to a point. Let me explain. If you look to buy a house on an excessively large block of land for that particular area, you may find that number one, yes, you will pay more for the price because you're paying more for the land, but you may find that you'll struggle to get the property rented, and or the rental yield is actually lower because a tenant is not going to pay you extra in rent just because the block of land is bigger. If anything, they'll hesitate to rent out those properties on bigger blocks of land, and they may even pay you less in rent. Why? Because in many areas around Australia, especially where the vacancy rates are tight, it's the tenant that's got to look after the lawn and maintenance, and they don't want to do that. Right? What I found is that tenants often are looking for a block of land or a house on a block of land where there is some space in the backyard for the kids to play in, sure, but they don't want it to be too big where maintenance becomes an issue. Okay? So when you're looking to buy a property in a particular suburb, first do your research to see, well, what else is renting in that area and renting quickly and strongly. How big are those blocks of land, okay? Yes, you want to avoid the little postage stamps, where I'm seeing blocks of land like at 270 square meters. I mean, essentially there's no land there at all, okay? So I would be saying at a minimum stick to at least 360 square meters, okay? But again, do your research. That may change depending on which suburb you're looking at, okay? And what I found though is at a maximum, it's often sort of 480 square meters, maybe 500, again, depending on the suburb. So that's just a rule of thumb. You've then got to look at the individual suburbs you're targeting and work out, well, what's the ideal size block of land? What's the price for the house? What's the rent going to be? And make sure that you are doing your research and getting the best investment for yourself and the most appropriate one. Right? Because you do not want to be the person like someone I met recently who said, Nero, I went and bought an older property on a big block of land. It had been on the market for a while. I thought I was doing really well. I negotiated a strong discount on the price, and then I found that I struggled to get the property rented. Right? And the cash flow started to hurt me. So when I tried to put it back on the market, I was surprised to see just how hard it was for me to sell that particular property, and the discount that I negotiated was almost immaterial because I really couldn't sell it for much more than I bought it for. Right? And I've heard this story time and time again. So you've got to ensure that you are buying the right type of property for that particular suburb. Remember, capital growth is not just a function of land size. It's a function of supply and demand. And when I say demand, you've got to work out, well, what is it that your tenants want? What is it that other owner-occupiers are buying in that area? Because then if you look to rent out your property, you know what's going to rent easily. But also always remember that there is a chance that you may want or need to sell your investment property at some point in the future. And so you want to look at, well, what are owner-occupiers buying today in that particular area to give yourself the best chance of getting the maximum capital growth for your investment in that particular suburb. All right, so yes, land size is important. Yes, it is land that goes up in value, but ensure that you're not buying an excessively large land size for that particular suburb. It could certainly hurt you from a cash flow perspective and even from a capital growth perspective as well.